Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. I'm your host, Jody Grunwald, and welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Bart Henderson. In this episode, Bart dives deeper into the lessons he's learned along his journey, sharing insights on the power of mentorship, the importance of living with intention, and his personal commitment to living healthy. We also explore what it truly means to build a legacy that lasts. Don't forget, subscribe to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel, stream this podcast on all streaming platforms, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day Live It. Join our mailing list at todayisthedayliveit.com and attend events with Changemakers. Now let's jump back into part 2 of this episode with Bart Henderson. You said something, so much of what you said clicked with me because I'm the same way. I didn't go to law school, but what you were talking about, I did the 60 to 80 work weeks. I missed time with my family. I was making a very good living, but was I happy? Right? So that, and did I miss out on things with my kids because I wanted them to be able to be involved in so many things that I wasn't involved in when I was a kid. And the only way to make that happen was to be able to work like I nonstop, right? 2 a.m. on my computer, laptop on my lap, right? And so you said one word that has been my word for the last, I don't know how long, it's freedom.
Yeah.
And that freedom, right? Because I think we probably both know a lot of people that do the job they do because they feel handcuffed to it. Because what else am I going to do? How will I be able to take care of my family? Yeah, there's this thing over here that I always wanted to try, but I am petrified to do, right? And it takes, we talked about this, it takes a leap of faith, takes surrounding yourself with the right people, it takes research and really, connecting to it. And sometimes, I've heard stories where people have had $8 in the bank account and the next thing you know, they took the leap of faith and now they're multimillionaires, right? So there's plenty of people who do that. I'm not suggesting people should do that with $8 in their bank account, but I am saying there are ways to do that and connect with yourself because we only do have one life, right? Reincarnation, not reincarnation. Right now, this is it. This is where we are. And with that being said, I think it takes a lot of knowledge and wisdom to be able to say, how old were you when you said, this is not going to make me happy forever? You were very young, I'm going to assume, right?
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you the time. It was almost like just there,
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like most people at that point, right? I know, my kids just went through college themselves. Like they were like, this is what I have to do. I have to go to like, you just kind of you follow
Yep.
the path. And so I think it's brave and wonderful. And now you get to teach other budding entrepreneurs who want to do the things like you're doing. So talk to us about Henderson Promos now, where you are now, because you went from the apartment, now you have a beautiful, thriving business, and tell us
Yep.
about it.
So we're now nationwide. We have clients across all businesses. We work with small businesses and nonprofits that have 1 or 2 employees up to companies and organizations that have 128,000 employees, right? We have very well-known Fortune 500 companies that are clients, sports teams, things of that nature. But it was tough, right? It didn't happen overnight. The thing that is most exciting now is we're really rolling out our company stores. So we have one-off company stores that anybody can get now. So this has taken us years. I've been in the promo industry for 14 years now. And for the last 5 years, we've been trying to perfect company stores. For the last 2 years, it's been my sole focus in Henderson Promos to perfect company stores. And now, after all this time, we finally have the perfect company store where anybody who has a logo could send us an email and we can put their logo on 200 items immediately on a one-off basis. You can order 1 t-shirt, 1 hat, 1 cooler, 1 whatever. And it doesn't matter how big you are. You can just order 1 single item. So now we have company stores and we are going full court press on this. Anybody who's got a logo who wants a company store can email us and we can get that set up right away so that people can essentially get their name out there, get their logo out there, have something they're proud about with their company or their organization. Now, it can even be weddings. It can even be bachelor parties, anything where you have a logo. we can make a company store for you and get you stuff out. We print it in 1 to 2 days and it arrives to people's doorsteps between 1 to 4 days thereafter. So like we're talking, you don't have to stock anything. We print it, boom, it arrives. This allows anybody to have a full store for their company, organization, whatever it is.
I think that, yeah, right there is the flexibility, right? The lack of having to worry about inventory because that's really tough for businesses, as we know. And I want to get into talking real quick about MODC too, because you're part of our board.
Please.
Um, but I think that that sounds great. It opens the door to so many new organizations who can't take on that inventory piece and a big investment, right? So any size business, that's what's awesome right there, right? So there's no, some of us are small, some of us are mid-size, and those who are large can do very different things. So, and kudos to you and Christina for all the incredible work you've been doing with Henderson Promos. Is there another one of your many organizations that you want to highlight today in this podcast?
No, I mean, it's just, I've worked with a bunch of great organizations, right? Christian Brothers Academy, which is something I'm a big supporter of, the high school where I went, that they really build men with morals. There's a bunch of great organizations and nonprofits and things like that. But right now, what I've learned when it comes to giving energy and taking energy is I'm focusing where I get energy, and that's Agora Guild. And Agora Guild is full steam ahead. If I know that we can push each other and make differences like losing 70 pounds, like tripling your business, like really having an impact in other people's lives, that's what I want to do. It's really where I found my passion. And so that's a big focus, along with everything else. I give everything I do 100%, which sounds funny because 100.
I'm with
But
you. I have a lot of hundreds too, so I understand.
and so many people do say, and this is one thing. Well, how can you focus and give your legal job 100% and give Agora Guild 100% and Henderson Promos 100%? Like, how is that possible? And this comes down to accountability and where it gets uncomfortable for most people. So I'm sorry if people don't like what I'm about to say, but I gotta say it. Most people spend an unbelievable amount of their lives on times and things which aren't going to add value to them. So people say to me, how do you do that? Well, I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. And so between 4 a.m. and let's say 10 a.m., that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 6 hours. That's 6 hours of generally uninterrupted work. That's how much most people spend in one regular job. I am rushing. And it's actually more, it feels like 10 hours because when you're doing emails from 4 a.m. to like 9 a.m. and no one's answering them back, you get so much work done. So I have 4 a.m., right? Then you have the regular work day. Then other people come home, and this is the part people don't like. And generally speaking, from 5 or 6 a.m. p.m. rather, 5 or 6 p.m. till 10 or 11 p.m., they're watching TV. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like TV, it's what makes you happy and gives you some relaxation. Awesome. But what I'm doing is I'm spending time with my kids. I have unequivocal time that I'm spending with my kids until they go to bed. But then after that, I'm not watching TV. I'm either going to bed or I'm focusing on building a business. And so I'm able to spend 100% of my time on one thing in the morning, one thing in the day, 100% focused with my kids for X amount of hours a day, and then another thing. Whereas other people are only spending 100% of their energy from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. when they get tired in the middle of the day or whatever it is until they work till 2 to 5, right?
Right.
But then health is also a key there. So that's where the 100% work comes in, I guess, for all these different things where I'm able to spend more focus.
Yeah, for me, because I'm like you, I think I give myself credit for my ADHD mind, right? Because I've got 2, 3 computers that are from 2 to 3 different businesses and they're going, and then this thought process comes and maybe that's not the best way, but for certain people, everybody's different. So
Yep.
don't put yourself down if the way Bart's doing it is not the way you're doing it, or the way I'm doing it is not the way everybody has to go with the flow of what works best for them. Right. And that's what's important.
Yep.
speaking about, I have a nonprofit, I have this podcast and a forum, but also I'm the CEO of the Monmouth Ocean Development Council, which is a business organization, as you know, here in Monmouth and Ocean counties in New Jersey, been around for going to be 60 years. I get to meet and connect the most incredible people, advocacy, networking, economic development. You've been a member. I was a member of it way back when I worked for American Heart. And then you've been a
Yep.
member longer than me. And now you're on the board again. You were on the
Yeah.
board. So share with everybody, if you wouldn't mind, as a board member, why is the MODC different?
Hmm. Um, the MODC really is different. And it's funny because you could say, why is any group different? Uh, MODC is just it's not like any of the business networking groups out there. Well, first off, is it a networking group? Some people would say it's not. I believe it absolutely
Oh,
is.
yes.
It's totally a networking group. Is it an advocacy group? Yes, in a sense. Is it a group where you go to learn? Yes. Whether it's about government issues or marketing or whatever it might be. So, um, other groups, you go and it's like this almost trade. Let me give you a referral for a referral. Let me give you business for business. MODC, first off, it's generally speaking a higher level of people doing business. People aren't walking into the room and just handing you their business card. You're meeting people, you're talking to people. There's so many nonprofits, and you're trying to understand how you can help each other. The thing that people learn quickly about the MODC is if you come in asking for business, this is my opinion, you can correct me, Jody. If you come in asking for business, you're not going to do well. If you come in giving business, if you come in and help other people out, that's where you're going to thrive. I mean, that's kind of the case for anything in business.
Mhm.
But in the MODC, once you gain the trust of the people around you, then you see very quickly this is a community of people who want to help each other grow. It's a higher level as well. So it's not small businesses, generally speaking. There are small businesses. Any small business can join the MODC.
Entrepreneurs, sure.
But there's medium-sized businesses and the largest businesses in our state that are members of the MODC too. So you're not just in a local networking group, a local chamber or something like that. And those are all really good
Mhm.
for those types of businesses. But the MODC has this high level, medium to large size businesses as well. So that's a real key. I kind of think I learned my business networking in the MODC. I like from years ago. I mean, I don't know how long I've been a member now, probably 7, 8 years, something like that at
Probably,
this
yeah.
point. And so I learned that this is never mind social media, never mind email marketing. This is the best way to grow your business. I grew Henderson Promos, and it's not just because of Henderson Promos clients in the MODC. It's because I learned there that, networking, true networking is really how you're going to grow the business better than an email campaign or a social media, which is all the rage nowadays. So the MODC, high level business, people who want to work together. And it's just a collaborative group of fun people where you build relationships. Now, the one thing that I would say to anyone joining is you get out what you put in. People always say garbage in, garbage out, right? And if you don't engage, and if you don't build relationships, you're not going to get anything out of it. If you don't actually go to the events, then how could you get business out of joining the MODC if you don't go to the events and network with people? So I will say, join a committee. That's the first thing, right? And then 2, foster relationships. Have coffees, have lunches, have dinners, meet people. Pick up the phone and call some people. So if you engage in the MODC, you will unequivocally get business out of it. It's just a matter of whether you can take the time to actually engage. And the last thing I'll say about it, this is a long-winded thing about the MODC, but obviously I like MODC, is you build real relationships. Like I have real relationships in the MODC where I can call those people and they're friends now. They're not business colleagues in the community. These are people who have become friends. Yes, they are business colleagues. That's how it started, but they become friends. And so you really that's a special thing about the MODC where it fosters that kind of relationship.
And I say we're a membership family, and I really mean that because I'm all about not transactions. I tell every new member, do not call the people or email the people just saying, hey, this is what I do for a living. And, no, I'm a new member of the MODC, and I really would love to learn more about who you are and what you do and get the coffee. And for those who are super busy, because some people don't join because they can't make everything, the one thing I give everyone is this concierge service of if you see a name in our directory that you want an intro to, I'll make that soft intro for you.
Yeah.
So, and I bring all of this up too because you are now the chair of our membership committee, and we couldn't have picked a better chair for him. You kind of got thrown into it, poor Bart. I thank you for. I know, but we couldn't have picked anybody better because of your energy level. And I do want to mention too, we are going to use your company store for our logoed items, so that's really exciting. And also we have ordered from Henderson Promos as a member of the MODC, and worked with you on good pricing and what we need, and you understand what our needs are, and this is organization, right? I think it's important that who your vendors are listen to what your needs are, and you do that, and I want to share that because I get to use your services, and I think it's important.
Thank you. That's I appreciate that, and it's a special organization to me. It really is. It's kind of how I started to understand intimately how business networking and how networking can build everything in life, really.
And I can talk to you for hours, and I just have a few more quick things because I know we might need to do another.
We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. And we could do a follow-up because I think there's just so much to talk about. But I did want to ask you just a quick two more things before I ask you the last question I ask everybody. One is mentors. Who would you say was your greatest mentor and just a lesson that they gave you?
So I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for.
Go with whatever comes.
But books.
And that was going to be my next question. What books should, that's so funny.
So I go through 60 to 100 books a year, I'd say. And so to me, I heard early on in my life, I was 19 years old when I heard Tony Robbins talked about the importance of mentors. And one thing he put in front of me that I think about all the time is he gave a story about he was trying to learn how to play polo, I think, on a horse. And so at first he went and he was like, all right, well, how do I learn polo? And then he realized, well, why would I want to learn polo from anyone except for like the #1 champion in the world at polo? Like, why wouldn't that be where I go to learn polo? And so when I have anything that I'm going into, like when I was going to start a landscaping business, a lot of people just start the business. I said, well, who can I find that would be a mentor in landscaping business? I found 5 books on landscaping, and I read those books. Who are the people who are the supreme kind of authorities in the landscaping industry? And so I find mentors through books because you don't have access to these people all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But if you can read their books, then you can take out all of that information. You can have a mentor in there built in automatically that teaches you the very best person. So if you want a business mentor, if you want a health mentor, I mean, I have tons of health mentors. Health is really one of my biggest focuses in life in the last 3 years. Then you can find those in books. And then once you find them in books, surround yourself with other people who have the same interests and the same things like that. And in our men's group, we are all kind of mentors to each other. We have guys in our men's group who are multimillionaires many times over. We have guys who are just out of college starting their first business. And so it's like, you can actually learn things from both of those people because maybe the multimillionaire isn't in shape. And maybe the guy right out of college is like a nutrition specialist who's a gym rat who can teach that millionaire how to get in shape. And so the millionaire can teach him how to make money, and he can teach a millionaire how to get in shape. And so you look for mentors where you see someone thriving in life, kind of is what I do.
It's so funny because my next thing was going to be about books. So it worked out really well. Is there a book right now that you're reading?
A book, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm reading. I read like 5 books. I used to read one book at a time.
I don't, I read, I'm like you. I've got two going at the
Yeah,
same time, so I get
yeah.
it.
Right now, I'm rereading Why We Sleep by Matt. Oh, I can't remember Matt's
It's
last
okay.
name. Why We Sleep. Most people won't like this book. It's a great book, but the reason I say this is it's very science based. It's phenomenal. If you're really into health, great book. But if you're not into science and health, it might be a little slow for some people. It is phenomenal insights on sleep. Anyone who's interested in health, great book. So Why We Sleep. But as far as some of like my all-time favorites that I go back to all the time, I'd say one of my favorite books of all time is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. So that is probably my number one go-to recommendation that I would put to anybody. Love that book. There are certain business books and things of that nature. There's Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Uh, Extreme ownership, I think, is something that everybody in life should take on, and it's just really taking ownership for everything you do and everything that people do around you. There's no excuses. There's no, oh well, I couldn't do it, or this person in my company messed up. Whoa, why did they mess up? Did you put the procedures in place to allow them to not mess up? It's really owning all the way up and down the line. If someone made a mistake, it's your fault. So that's a good one. I mean, I could actually send you a list of my 100 favorite books.
Oh, that's great. I love it. I love it. I'd love to put like your top five in our notes. So if you want to
Oh,
send those to me, I will absolutely do that. There's one thing that came to
you
my
know what?
mind.
Let me mention one more actually, which
Go,
is
go.
a definite must read. It's called Good Energy by Casey Means. Dr. Casey Means, she's a doctor who went to Stanford and gave it all up. She said, I can't be a doctor anymore because the medical system in America is completely broken. And Good Energy by Casey Means, if anyone's looking for an introduction into health, again, I read tons of health books a year. This is the best health book I've read in the last year. And I think it's the best introduction for people who want to understand health. Good Energy by Casey Means. I think her brother Callie Means is also an author on that. So phenomenal book.
That sounds, all of these I'm going to take a look at. They sound great. Thank you for sharing them. And I haven't heard of any of them. That's what I love even more.
Oh, great.
So I have to ask you something because it's sitting on my shoulder, and then we'll ask you the last question. I know we're going way long here, but this is something that it is a thing for me myself. I'm alcohol is something you mentioned before, and being
Oh yeah.
alcohol free and health being important. And I am a true believer that alcohol has really, society has made it acceptable, and whether people are going to like what I'm going to say either, because I kind of am from the place of, not that I've never drank before in my life or anything like that, but am about being in control and being able to have fun without an outside substance that
Mhm.
will give you liquid courage to be somebody else. Right. That's just me. That's just my opinion. But I know that you've been alcohol free, that you've done and you've talked about that as been part of your group. And I just wanted to get, a couple minutes of you talking about your thought process around it, because I know that we have similar views.
Yeah. So gosh, it's a great topic.
No.
So so the first thing is like when you say societally accepted, that's the biggest thing that was eye-opening for me as far as choosing not to drink alcohol anymore. I haven't had alcohol in, I think it's coming up on 5 years this December. Yeah, and so it was just a decision where my wife and I said, all right, let's give it up for 30 days. A lot of people do like no alcohol in January or
Right.
something like that. So we gave it up for 30 days and we said, we feel great. Like, why wouldn't we just keep feeling great? So then we did it for another 30, turned into 6 months, then turned into a year. And we were like, okay, well, what happened this year? Well, this year we made more money than we've ever made before in our lives. We purchased our dream boat. We got a house. We did like what, just all this stuff. And it's like, is there a correlation there between us giving up alcohol and having all these things? So, energy, right? It comes to energy. And so alcohol takes away energy, and there's no there's really not a debate against that. Like from a scientific standpoint, alcohol does take away energy. Now, I'm not a proselytizer. I don't tell people you shouldn't drink alcohol because I have a lot of friends who drink once a month. I have a lot of friends who drink once every couple of weeks, who drink a couple times a year or whatever. And that's fine. Like again, even if you drink every week, every whatever, if it works for you and it's one glass of wine, one beer, like whatever, totally fine. I think that where it becomes a problem is as a society, alcohol is like the automatic go-to no matter what every time you're with people. And so if you're networkers like us, I used to, you remember these days, I used to go to 10 networking events a week. 10. 10. My goal was 10, no matter what. I wake up on that Monday before, if I don't hit 10 networking goals, that would be breakfast, lunch, dinner things. And that's how I grew my business. I was going to 10 networking events a week. And so you find that you're having a glass of wine at each networking event or a beer or whatever it is. Not the breakfast ones and not the lunch ones per se.
Right. Those are Bloody Marys. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah. But you find that, oh my gosh, I'm drinking one glass of wine 4 nights a week now, or whatever it is. Like, why is that, right? And then you come home and you can't quite focus on work as much, or you can't quite focus. And so for me, it was an idea of it slowed me down. It took away energy. Now, Aura rings. This is an Aura ring. I can't suggest it more. OURA. Anyone who's interested in health. I would say about 12 guys in our men's group out of the 40 have these now. If you want to see how alcohol affects your body, get an Aura ring. I actually just had a text yesterday from one of the guys who got an Aura ring, and he said to the whole group, "Wow, you guys wouldn't believe what one beer does to your body when it comes to the Aura rings." He had one beer with a friend the night before, and he said, "My sleep, my heart rate, my recovery, everything is trashed, like just totally bad." And you see it with an Aura ring. So the Aura ring tracks your sleep, tracks your heartbeat rate, your oxygen rate. I mean, just all sorts of things. It's got 10 different sensors on the inside of it. See,
Oh,
it's glowing.
wow.
And so you're able to see with one beer, never mind 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but you're able to see with one beer that your sleep is, and this is actually in the book, Why We Sleep. He goes all through this, like 25%, 30%, maybe worse, less efficient, right? With one single beer. So like, what are you doing to your health long term? Again, I don't like being a party pooper. Like, if you drink alcohol once in a while, that's great and it's fine and it's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with alcohol. The issue that I have is it like people having to drink alcohol every time they're out socially. You just might want to look at that and think about if that's the right thing for you or not. So
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people come up to me, and we've had a lot of men totally give up alcohol in Agora Guild. I'm not like preaching this. It's just something that people, when they start looking into health and looking into statistics, they end up doing. We've had a lot of people. I have one guy who really likes alcohol. He cut back to once a month having alcohol now, and he says he's never felt better, right? So it's just a matter of being cognizant of your relationship versus reaching for a beer every time. That's kind of
Yeah.
it is. How about you?
It,
I mean, what are you seeing? What are you thinking?
so it's interesting. It's interesting. So unfortunately, in my past relationship of 20 years, it wound up that my ex was an alcoholic, right? So I did not drink because I
Got
didn't want my kids to see, right? I'm
it.
always honest on this podcast. But then after we split, I was having drinks here and there. I met my now husband. We were drinking a little bit more, and I started to say, "What am I doing? I don't feel well. I feel dehydrated. I don't have energy, my memory." It was just so many things that I was like, all those years that I told you I worked the 60 to 80-hour work weeks and I was making really good money and doing really well. I wasn't drinking because I was being the good example. And I'm drinking. I feel bad. My productivity is low. And so what I did find though, Bart, in this society, and this is something I feel very strongly about, and it's not about me telling people not to drink, just like you. I'm not a preacher. I'm not trying to preach. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is alcohol is looked at to celebrate, and it's looked at when we have a bad day. So throughout, it has a whole spectrum. It's not one or the other or only sometimes. It's all the time. We're either going to celebrate with it, or we're going to, when we feel bad, we're going to use it as our crutch. And that's what scares me. And that's why we see drunk drivers. And that's why we see youth that are turning, 21. And this is the big thing. We're going to be able to drink. And I've seen the other side too. And in my age, I have actually been peer pressured to want to be right. What do you mean you're not having a drink? Come on, we're all having a drink. Like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm in my early 50s and I'm getting peer pressured to drink alcohol at this
Yeah.
age. What is that saying about our society and the way? And again, just like you, I'm not telling people it's bad or you're a bad person. Do what works for you. But why do we need to peer pressure people to do something that isn't healthy?
Ah,
And that you can see how strongly I feel about this topic.
I do. I do. I give people tips when they're looking to start to do it, which is order a seltzer with a lime. So like you don't even have to. Our best friends, Chrissy and I, didn't know for a year and a half that we weren't drinking alcohol because we would get seltzers with limes or non-alcoholic beers or something, and they'd be like, "No, you were drinking beer." That when we first told them we don't know, we're like, "Oh, we don't drink alcohol." They're like, "You were drinking a beer like a couple of months ago." I was like, "Nah, it's non-alcoholic," you know. So if you want to take away that pressure, first get a seltzer, get a non-alcoholic beer, things like that. Two, you know, again, this goes to feeling awkward in front of people if you're okay with this, but it comes down to what I talked about with accountability. Be like, you could just pose the question to them, which is very simple, which is, why are you uncomfortable that I'm not drinking alcohol?
I
Um,
love that question.
uh,
I love it.
yeah.
My
Uh,
husband said that the other day because we both aren't we haven't drank for quite some time now. I think March because we had like one glass of wine in March, so we have not drank since March. And so that is exactly what he said. He goes, next time somebody's like saying something, I'm going to say, why is it uncomfortable for you that I'm not drinking?
That's right. That's exactly it. And so that's one thing you could pose to people. It's an interesting dynamic. I've had people that said, like, how could you have fun? How could you go out without drinking?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
that's mind blowing, you know?
Well, there is something else that somebody has said to me is that, well, I really don't know how to have fun. I've been drinking for quite some time, and that's kind of been my fun. I have to relearn
Yeah.
fun.
What's true? I mean, I would say for the first 3 months that I wasn't drinking, it was a little now everyone's different, right? It
Mhm.
was almost like a little difficult. Like maybe if I went out, I did want to have a beer or
Yeah,
something like that. And then 6 months came by, and like now I'll go to bachelor parties and not drink. Like, and so it's like anything. You understand, you learn, you change, it becomes a part of you. Um, but you have to try it, you have to see, and it's hard for people to imagine because they're not just giving it a try, I suppose. But I say that comes down to happiness too, like to a
100%.
degree, which is if you're not able to have fun and experience happiness without something, then that's a problem. That's almost like a Buddhist like proverb, or is like if you need something to experience happiness, something's wrong. Whether it's alcohol, a car, a house, a thing, like you need to be able to first have happiness and then have things, I guess, right?
Right. Well, there's these things that give you dopamine rushes, right? And like gambling, smoking, drinking, all of these things. And so if you are in need of those things, there's therapists, I highly recommend it, coaches, I'm a coach. There's so many different ways to get help because that happiness, if you're leaning on something outside of yourself, then you need to figure out what's going on inside of ourselves. And it is about finding new fun. But I'll tell you one thing, like I've never needed liquid courage to dance. I don't care where I'm at, I'll dance anywhere. But
Love
other
it.
people have used that as saying, I can't dance if I don't have that. So how do you find the comfortability and I hope we could do a whole podcast on judgment and why we allow judgment to actually control us. We should do another podcast on that. And so that's definitely a platform of mine. But I'm glad that we could talk about this, and maybe in another episode we can expand even further on the health part of what you do, what you're
And
interested
I would
in.
love to talk about health. Health is my one of my main focuses right now. So that would be a good thing for us to reconnect on, definitely.
That sounds like a total plan. So I am going to, like I said, I could talk to you for such a long time because we have a lot of things that we talk about that we agree on. Um, this is a question I ask everybody in this season is, and you're still so young, but I want to say this too, is that what is the legacy in the whatever world, business world, and life in general? What is the legacy that you want to create, that you're creating now, that you want to leave behind?
If I could boil it down to one thing, it's um, spreading empathy from one person to another. I really, if I could be remembered for anything, or if my children acted anyway, or if men who graduate CBA or people who are in MODC or anything like did one thing, it would be me having the ability to continue to spread empathy. So we end the Agora Guild meetings in the same way every time. And essentially, we say, remember, Agora Guild men are about kindness, strength, and chivalry. And what we want to do is go out and spread positivity today. So go out, make someone's day, make somebody happy, hold the door open for them, buy a coffee, whatever that one thing is. But to me, it's about empathy, because whether it's political issues we have in our country nowadays, if we start to teach people empathy, then I know we'll have a better world. I mean, you see people cutting each other off in cars, and like all that really comes down to is the person who cut off the other person doesn't have empathy for being in the shoes of the other person. And you see people who are bad to other people in business. It's just they didn't have empathy. If we can have empathy and spread empathy, like if people ask me, like, what's one thing that would make you proud about your children? Like I ask that sometimes, like if they could grow up to be one thing, like, a lawyer, a doctor, an astronaut, what would you want them to be? And I say to be an empathetic person. Like that's really all that I look for. And so that would be my one thing I would love to be remembered for is whether it's through companies, whether it's through organizations, spreading the idea of empathy, because you get more happiness, you get more, I get more achievement and happiness through seeing people learn empathy and spread empathy.
That's so beautifully put. You're actually making me almost have a tear in my eye here. And I say that for real because this is a topic I just spoke about the other day, is that we have a lot of people who kind of just go through what I say cruise control of life, and they stay very focused in their own lane of what they need and what they want, and then not giving out that empathy to the others. I don't know, there's this thing that many people say, if you're not born with it, it can't be taught. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I feel like if you make people aware that they're not giving it or providing it, I think that
Right.
they can become aware of it and be a little bit more thoughtful, right?
Oh yeah, that's to some degree, people don't change, right? And that's
Right.
tough.
It's
Like that's
true.
a hard life lesson to learn as you get older, at least for me. Like at certain ages, people kind of don't change, but you also see massive shifts in certain people. Like you see people who all of a sudden at 57 years old have been overweight and eating and doing whatever they want their whole lives, and they go to the gym, they start eating well, and now they're fit and they're just crushing it. So like they do change. There's the opportunity to change. And I find if we were to put values on empathy in our society, values on helping other people versus this me first business kind of mind. Like when people say to me, I mean, people say this to me all the time. Well, business is business. Oh, I cannot tell you how much I hate that
It's
phrase.
true. Yeah, I
I
don't like it either.
cannot tell you because it's not. That just means you can be a jerk to people because it's business.
It's an excuse.
No, business is personal. Business is empathy. You have to be the same way in my eyes. You have to care about people the same way in business, the same way you do in personal life. Like you
Mhm.
can't just say you can be a jerk in business. And so I think it's something where you said it best. If you put it in front of that person and let them realize, like, you're not being empathetic. You're not, then it's something that can be learned, then can be thought about. But people need to have their eyes open first
They have to be willing. Yeah.
yeah, yep, exactly. So
Is there
okay.
anything else you wanted to share before we end today?
No, it's been a nice time. I'm looking forward to. We have so many things going on right now in the MODC, the company stores, a lot of fun stuff coming up. So I'm looking forward to driving some membership engagement there, to working on a couple different projects, working with you on your companies. So I think we've got a fun year ahead. We have a mentality. Last thing I'll say, because we say year ahead, is it's October right now. And Ed Milet, if you ever listen to Ed Milet, he talks a lot about separation season. And so we're heading into separation season. So this is what we're focused on in Agora Guild right now. And it's that we're going to hit November, December, right? And in November and December, most people work out less, they eat worse, they work less because there's this excuse of the holiday season and things like that. What if you started working out more? What if you started eating better? What if you took this opportunity to make yourself better instead of falling back into all these societal things that happen during the holiday season, right? The holidays are holidays. They're one day holiday. They're not holla months, right? And
I love
so
that.
and so right now, separation season is upon us as we're coming to the end of the year. We have a lot of fun things coming up. I'm looking forward to continuing that separation season, crushing things that we have going on together through the end of the year.
And I hope that you'll be part of our Changemakers Forum this year, which is coming up in March, where all of our changemakers from around the world come together and share on topics that matter. And one of them is going to be driven on nonprofit and how to really put your mission out there first. And not, we all worry about the money, but it comes naturally when you lead with the mission, the money follows. So we have 6 topics that we'll be talking about, but I hope you'll join us. We invite the Changemakers to be a part and be a speaker and get some nice international exposure, which is what it's all about. So that's coming soon, and it's looking like March 13th. So I'm excited about
All right, awesome, excited. A
that.
date seems set. I'm excited to attend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send you more info on that. And Bart, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story, being open to sharing so much. I mean, really, I appreciate it. There's so many learnings from this specific podcast episode, which I might have to cut in half because we've gone quite long, which is which I'm excited. Part 1 and part 2, you'll be the first. I've never done a part 1, part 2. So this will be great. But
yeah, well, Jody, since I met you, I knew we had a lot of synergies and thought, and that's why we immediately started working together. And that's why we could talk for another 2 hours, but that'll happen another day.
Another day. And by the way, I remember when I met you, you were doing those 10 networking meetings a week. I remember talking to you about them. That's when we first met. So I know you did them. I remember.
Yeah.
So I'm going to thank you one more time again. Thank you, Bart Henderson, Henderson Promos. Where can people find you?
So they can find agoraguild.com is probably the best way. You can go to barthenderson.com. If you're looking for speakers, for engagement, for motivation, go to barthenderson.com, or Agora Guild if you want to elevate your circle of people around you. So barthenderson.com, Agora Guild, or at Agora Guild on Instagram. And you can find me at Bart Henderson ESQ on Instagram.
And one last thing you have to tell us, how does everybody find your wonderful Henderson promos?
HendersonPromos.com. That's HenderSon promos.com. Appreciate it, Jody.
Can't be easier. Couldn't be easier. So that's awesome. Thank you, Bart, again. And I'm going to say what I say at the end of every single podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what steps, small or large, are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goals? Thank you again, Bart, and I look forward to having you on sometime soon. Have a great week, everyone. A huge thank you to Bart Henderson for joining us on the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. Over the past 2 episodes, he shared invaluable insights and wisdom, leaving us with powerful takeaways. We hope his words inspired you and sparked something meaningful on your own journey. Don't forget, subscribe to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel, stream this podcast on all streaming platforms, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day Live It. Today is the Day is now offering the opportunity for you to attend events with our Changemaker guests. Sign up to our mailing list at todayisthedayliveit.com. Have a great week, everyone.